Welcome to another edition of the Jim Barron Show. I'm your host, Ben Wagner. The Jim Barron Show, as always, weekly, presented by Geico. The Golden Griffins entered their first week of MAC competition with a little bit of a wrinkle on the schedule, playing back-to-back games on Friday and on Saturday night. Coming out of the weekend with a win on Friday and a tough loss on Saturday evening. To talk more about not only the road that the Griffs have been on and the road in front of them coming up this week with a couple of big tests is the head coach, Jim Barron. Hi, Coach.
Ben, how you doing? Great seeing you.
Doing great. Happy holidays to all of our viewers and our listeners as well. Thanks for supporting the Griffs, especially with a great atmosphere in the Kessler Athletic Center on Friday night.
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, we were playing one of the premier teams in the league. They're picked second in the league, and King Rice has done a great job with that program, with the development and the infrastructure that they do have. But they went out and they beat Notre Dame, they beat Southern Cal, and then they had a great win against UCLA. So they were coming in with tremendous confidence. And again, we've had tough games against them in the past, and we knew it was going to be a tremendous battle just because they have some really, really fine players. They have some upperclassmen that are very good. Justin Robinson is one of the best guards, not only in the league, but purely in the country, as the way he's been playing and elevating that team to beat UCLA, Notre Dame, and Southern Cal. So this was going to be a big, big test for us, coming off a couple of tough losses and now coming into Monmouth and a great atmosphere, college basketball, on Friday night in the Kessler Center. And our guys just, we came out and, I had talked to our guys prior to the game and said, we want to play like we played against Hofstra. I mean, we came out and we just, took the ball and attacked the rim. And then we rebounded, we defended, and it allowed us to get our fast break going. And it was just, it really clicked.
It generated so much offense and such quick strikes, especially from downtown, where that dribble penetration then allowed guys to catch and then step right into the threes. Could you even imagine hitting a dozen threes in the first half?
No, not really, but, that's how we practice, that's how we play. I mean, this team is very explosive. And, even the games, the UB game, and we scored 96 points. When we played Hofstra early on, we scored. I mean, we've been scoring a lot of points pretty consistently. The challenges are going to be is defending and rebounding and taking care of the basketball. I think the better we do that and the more we can improve, I think that we'll have better results in the long term. But the game against Monmouth, it seemed like everything clicked. We made great passes. We had tremendous assists, and guys stepped up and they were shot ready and they made shots.
The Golden Griffins continue to be one of the best teams in the nation in scoring offense. 87 points per ball game. That ranks you in the top 20, officially 16th coming into this week. Is this the type of offense, in terms of pace, I know that you'd like to see, and especially with guys getting up a lot of shots and moving the basketball around and distributing it? Is it performing at the consistency that you thought it would be at this point?
Well, I think it's a little bit ahead of schedule, and the reason being is because we have so many newcomers. We have 7 new guys coming into the fold. But I think that we have the type of players that can gravitate to this style of up-tempo and running. But as you do this, you have to defend and you have to rebound the basketball. The other thing is you have to take care of the basketball. But what happens is it gives you a chance. Each and every game that we played, I felt that we were in the game the entire time, with the exception of Monmouth, probably the last minute and a half. But I think that each and every game, we had a chance to tie, we had a chance to win. And again, it's very, very exciting. And, and I told our guys, I said, we could be as good as we want to be, but it's going to take some discipline and it's going to take some dedication to defend and rebound the basketball, because that gives us more opportunities. Now, the pressure that we put on people, that also gives us more opportunities to turn the ball over, to give it back to us on the offensive end. So therefore, it's a complete cycle. You up tempo, you get steals, you get deflections, you play defense, you get stops. It allows you to run. You get rebounds. It allows you to run. It allows you up tempo. The other thing is being aggressive allows you to get to the free throw line, and that helps us with just getting replenished. It also helps us in trying to get our press going. But again, this is how we recruited a lot of these players, is that we let them know that we're going to play this style. And kids and players love to play. They love to score. I mean, who doesn't love to score in college basketball? But we love to do this, but it does take discipline. It does take intensity as far as your approach on defense.
He's the head coach, Jim Barron, joining us for the Jim Barron Show, presented by Geico, as the Golden Griffins come away from their first weekend of MAC competition at 1-1. A great atmosphere in the Kessler Athletic Center. Props to many of the longtime fans that were there. Props to the student body that was right behind the bench as well. And I think setting the tone 60 minutes before tip-off. That's the kind of atmosphere that you want to promote. And a couple of the things, too, from that weekend that you hit on, like rebounding and some of the little intricacies, probably made the difference, too, from being 2-0 out of that weekend against a tough Quinnipiac team in the end. And we talked on radio, too, in the post-game show. You were a little apprehensive coming into that. It would take a level of intensity to go back-to-back and get 2 wins.
Well, yeah, there's no question, and that's the challenges of this basketball team is, we have to be ready to do that. And, we're going to have a chance to do that when we play out in Las Vegas. And even, in the playoffs down the road, you do have to play back, because if you win, you play the next night or take a day off and play the following night. So these are the types of things that as a basketball team, and I've told our players, we have to learn to reset ourselves with the next game. And that's tough to do because the emotion, with the Monmouth game, I mean, it was just a phenomenal night. We out-rebounded them. We took 29 foul shots. We shared the ball. I mean, the tremendous thing is we had 20 assists. So, a lot of good things happened. But as you get ready for the next game, you got to reset. Not only as coaches, but you got to reset as players. With now going into a team that can really rebound the basketball like Quinnipiac. And they have guards that can really score the ball with taking it to the basket. So these are the types of things that, we're going to have growing pains. We're going to have learning curves. We have to continue to do this and understand the importance of putting the emphasis on taking care of this type of approach.
The Golden Griffins 1-1 in MAC competition, 3-4 overall, leaving the Kessler Athletic Center after having a nice long homestand and really playing the month from the middle of November all the way to the middle of December without even leaving the state of New York. Now a couple of big tests on the road at Penn State and then going to the Buckeye State to take on Kent State before coming back to the Kessler Athletic Center on December the 19th to take on Boston. You can find complete schedule information on gogriffs.com or call the box office for future tickets at 888-TIXX. We'll continue with more of the Jim Barron Show presented by Geico coming up in a moment as we continue to talk about the season ahead and what's coming up on the new year.
That's good. That's good.
I'll ride the highway, I'm going my way.
If you're a free-range chicken, you roam free. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
For all information on Canisius Athletics, log on to gogriffs.com, the official online home of Golden Griffin Athletics. Follow us on Twitter for up-to-the-minute information on Canisius Athletics. Follow Canisius Athletics on Instagram at gogriffs. Like Canisius Athletics on Facebook. Follow our story and add your moments by following Go Griffs on Snapchat. Join our YouTube channel for all highlights, post-game, and feature videos. Canisius Athletics, online all the time.
This is the Jim Barron Show, presented by Geico. I'm your host, Ben Wagner, continuing with the head coach, Jim Barron, already discussing the 1-1 MAC weekend, a season that now has the Golden Griffins at 3-4. Moving now into the start, really, of a tournament that will finish up in Las Vegas, but a couple of nice tests. Going to Happy Valley, taking on Penn State, then traveling to the Buckeye State, taking on Kent State, 2 road games as well before the Griffs come back home right before the Christmas holiday. So a lot to cover over the next couple of weeks, a lot to get done before the calendar year arrives as well. Now, looking at where this team is, and we talked about the success offensively, individuals are getting it done and having some tremendous individual efforts early in this season. Malcolm McMillan drops in 33 in his Golden Griffin debut, 31 points to follow it up in his first game in the Kessler Athletic Center, and the emergence and the intensity of Phil Valente continues. Coming away from a weekend where he has a new career high, finishes 2 ball games averaging 19 points and 8 rebounds, that's the kind of level and consistency. I think from an effort standpoint, you always rely on Phil. Sometimes, though, with that effort, you don't see that immediate impact on a stat sheet.
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, Phil's a guy that we need to continue to emerge, you know, to be one of the leaders and to be one of the consistent players. Just because he's high energy, he gets up and down the court. You know, against Cornell, he had 5 threes. But again, he's a guy, especially on the inside, you know, because Bleek has been up and down with his game. And I think Phil is a guy that, you know, he can go inside out, he can shoot the ball, he can score the ball, he can run the floor. These are the types of things that we need him to do, not only on scoring the ball, but also rebounding the ball, just because he's so active around the basket. And then the other guy is Jamal Reynolds. I mean, Jamal is just, I mean, he's just so intense with his rebounding, especially getting to the offensive glass. And his consistency is something that's very, very important from the guard play. So these are the types of things. But as we move forward, Ben, it's really important to get our bench involved. I mean, against Monmouth, they had 28 points. Then they turn around and we only have 8 points against Quinnipiac. We can't have that because we are playing those guys to continue to play our style, to get up and down the court, to press, to up-tempo. But, you know, they have opportunities, but you can't all of a sudden have 28 points and turn it around and only have 8 points. So, you know, they got to be game ready. And that's our job as coaches, my staff, my assistants, myself. They have to understand that they're being called on to play the up-tempo style, but they got to be ready to score the ball, to get to the glass, to play defense so we can get, you know, turnovers and we can attack the bucket on the offensive end.
I think from a coaching staff standpoint, sometimes you guys must feel like group leaders at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio, riding the roller coaster from inconsistency to consistency standpoints when it comes to things, little things that mount up big time, like the bench.
Well, I tell you what, I relate it to Nickelodeon. And again, it's simple. I put X's on the court, and I say, you got to get to the X, and I try to really slow it down to some players because they have to understand that, you know, you have to be disciplined to do the things that we need you to do if we really want to be effective. But I think that when you have so many newcomers, to get them evolved in this type of philosophy, it takes a lot of discipline, but it's fun. It's fun to score the ball. It's fun to up-tempo. It's fun to run down the court. It's fun to go to the offensive glass. It's fun, and I relate defense to being fun. Some of my best defensive players in the past, they've made it fun because they were so good at defending the basketball that they made the opponents fear them at times. And that's what I'm telling my players to understand, that once it becomes a habit, it becomes fun. And that's what we're trying to build up here so that we can up-tempo, we can push the ball, we can score the ball. But, you know, when you got guys that coming off the bench like Isaiah Gurley, like Chris Atkinson, even Adam Ware, you know, you bring your post players, Jermaine Crumpton, you know, these are guys that just can play the game, and we want them to understand that when they come in, we want to keep the intensity consistent. And it's important for them to be what I call game ready. And that's the challenge as we move forward, is to build that continuity, to build that consistency. It's almost like hockey. When they take 2 guys out, they put 2 on. They take 3 guys out, they put 3 on. Well, when we're going, we're up tempo, playing with a lot of high energy. And the challenge is going to be, this week we play, 2 good basketball teams on the road, and the first one's with a Big Ten opponent, Penn State. And, you say Happy Valley. I mean, it's, it could be happy and it could be a challenge, especially playing in the rec center. So, it's going to be a great challenge because they're a Big Ten opponent. You don't usually get an opportunity to play somebody. And this is what I tell our guys. We played somebody from the Colonial. We played from the Atlantic 10. We're playing teams outside of our conference to help us get ready inside our conference. So these are the challenges that we're going to have to face and to try to achieve those challenges.
We'll talk more about the Penn State matchup and the matchup with Kent State coming up. One thing I don't want to gloss over too quickly here, because we talked about Jamal Reynolds. The Golden Griffins have the second best rebounder in the MAC conference going into this week's play. Almost 9 boards a game. Offensively, we talk about guys that have high IQ. They see things quickly on the floor. How much of the game for Jamal is just a feel when it comes to grabbing this amount of rebounds?
Well, I think it's a feel, but it's his intensity. He plays so hard, and I love the way he approaches the game. I mean, it's just, it's a treat to have a guy like that gets it, because what I try to do as a coach, and I've been doing this for a long period of time, I take the guessing out of playing. I have a saying, less thinking and more playing. And Jamal epitomizes that, because once that shot goes up, he's on the glass, like bees going back to a hive. He just gets it. And his intensity is tremendous with getting second shots. The other thing, it helps him get to the foul line. And that helps us set up our defense, which is tremendous for this basketball team.
The Golden Griffins on the road. They'll play on Thursday against Penn State, come back on Saturday and take on Kent State in Akron, Ohio, before returning to the Kessler Athletic Center on December the 19th to take on Boston. You can find complete schedule information at gogriffs.com, and as always, call the box office at 716-888-TIXX for tickets to your next Golden Griffin experience. More with the head coach, Jim Barron, as the Jim Barron Show continues, presented by Geico, right here on the Golden Griffin Broadcast Network.
I'll ride the highway. I'm going my way.
If you're a free-range chicken, you roam free. It's what you do. If you want to save 15% or more on car insurance, you switch to Geico. It's what you do.
For all information on Canisius Athletics, log on to gogriffs.com, the official online home of Golden Griffin Athletics. Follow us on Twitter for up-to-the-minute information on Canisius Athletics. Follow Canisius Athletics on Instagram at gogriffs. Like Canisius Athletics on Facebook. Follow our story and add your moments by following Go Griffs on Snapchat. Join our YouTube channel for all highlights, post-game, and feature videos. Canisius Athletics, online all the time.
The Jim Barron Show, as always, presented by Geico. I'm your host, Ben Wagner, with the head coach, Jim Barron, joining us here from Canisius College. As the Golden Griffins get set to hit the road for a couple of games, we'll be at Penn State on Thursday, and then on Saturday, wrapping up a short little road trip in Ohio against Kent State before coming back to the Kessler Athletic Center against Boston on December the 19th. Again, GoGriffs.com has all your schedule and ticket information, as well as broadcast info for all those games, no matter if it's the road trip upcoming, home gates, or even all the MAC competition. Coach, this is a great week to really test your team. If you talk about measuring stick games, I think there are a number of things that you can look at the matchups with both teams and try to come away with one wins, sure, but also find out where your team is in terms of ranking against some out-of-the-league opponents. And when you face a Big Ten team, usually you're going to have bigger bodies in there just to compete with the Big Ten size. What kind of matchups are you either thinking about right now in terms of preparation going against the Nittany Lions?
Well, it's going to be a challenge for us just because of the physicality, when you play against a Big Ten team. They're big, physical, they got big guards, that go 210, 220, 225, and then they have a couple of big guys that are 6'9", one's a 7-footer. So this team is going to truly test us. We're playing in a very, very hostile environment, which is Rec Center. I was in the NIT with Rhode Island. We beat Niagara at Niagara, and we went to play in the Joy Center a number of years ago. So I've never faced any Penn State team in the Rec Center, but they tell me it's like Hoosiers. Yeah. I mean, it's just a packed crowd. They're on top of the court. So, we're going to have to really, be into each other, understand the communication. I think rebounding is going to be a major, major key. Defending is going to be a major key. But, as we look at it, we're going to continue to try to up-tempo, push the ball. They've gotten some good wins up to now. They beat Boston College at Boston College. They beat DePaul. They beat Bucknell. So they're a team that they do have some upperclassmen that are very, very good players. And so this is going to be a great test for us. And then we turn around and have probably one of the biggest teams that we'll face all year in Kent State. I mean, their physicality, and they got a kid that transferred from Cornell, Galad Cancer. He's a really good guard and really hurt us last year when we played Cornell at Cornell. He led them in scoring. So he can really score the ball off the dribble and attack. So these two games are going to be tremendous tests for us, especially coming off a very emotional week. We're playing two conference teams. So, we got to take it one game at a time, but it's going to be a really good test for us to go on the road again and to face two good basketball teams.
Starting with the Nittany Lions of Penn State, who are in the stretch of playing 4 games in 8 days. Right now, they'll already have a game early in the week before the Golden Griffins arrive on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. We'll be on the air 6:40 with all the pregame coverage as well at the Rec Center. As you mentioned, it's not the traditional venue for Penn State. This is a facility that the Nittany Lions used to play in before they got the Bryce Jordan Center on campus, sparkling facility. So this is also promotes kind of the energy around this game, which we've seen the Golden Griffins compete in high energy situations. I think even as an opponent, you kind of feed off of that.
Well, there's no question. I mean, they're going to be, it's going to be a hostile environment. I spent 5 years, my first 5 years as a head coach was at St. Francis. So I lived in Altoona, which isn't too far from State College. Mike Isolino is from Altoona, Pennsylvania. So, this is kind of homecoming for him and for me. But, they're a good basketball, and they're coming from one of the best premier conferences in the country. I mean, when you look at, some of the teams that are in the Big Ten, whether it be Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, I mean, these teams are, they're usually at the top of the mark of getting to the Final Four or even winning it. So, it's going to be a very, very hostile, very competitive. It's going to be a tremendously physical game, and we got to answer the bell with the physicality of this game with our players, and that's going to be really important for us. But we're gonna play our style. I mean, we're gonna up tempo, and we got to keep building on what we're all about. And this whole process, Ben, we're trying to get our team ready. As we said early on, November is going to get us ready for December. December is going to get us ready for January. And this is a process. And when you've gone to postseason 3 years in a row and you're trying to keep it going and you have so many newcomers and you graduate student athletes. And, the big thing we had last year, Jeremiah Williams was a defensive stopper. Matter of fact, we had a defensive stopper every year I've been here. Jeremiah Williams, 2 years ago we had Chris Perez. And then my first year, we had Harold Washington, that was defensive. So we're trying to build a guard that can be our defensive stopper so that we can at least start from that and try to evolve into a real solid defensive team. And then on the rebounding end, we got to keep working on improving that because it all starts on that end. once we do that, that allows us to attack the bucket on the offensive end of getting the ball down the floor, playing fast, but playing smart. And that's what I preach to the guys every day. We want to play fast, but we want to play smart. We want to use the ball screens. We want to play inside out, want to make the extra pass. And, you know, you saw what happened when we played against Monmouth. When that thing gets going and those shots go in, I mean, it could be very, very potent.
So much can happen in the month of December. It's interesting from a student-athlete standpoint because there's always a finals week involved. There's weeks on end where the schedule just completely changes in terms of a rhythm standpoint. But you have been very successful in winning in the month of December. I think 17 wins over 26 games that you've had since arriving on campus. To do it and keep the focus and getting this team ready then for conference competition that arrives full force in the month of January. How much growth and how much chemistry can be built around all those outside influences, and very important when it comes to the finals, but how much chemistry can get you momentum now moving forward to the rest of the season?
Well, it's been very, very important the last 3 years. I mean, I know the first 2 years we've had a lot of upperclassmen, and we've had a lot of upperclassmen that have gone through tough experiences, whether it be here or whether it be other places, or they're coming from prep school or they're coming from junior college. So the first 2 years that I was here, we had a lot of experience. And I think that fed to the success we had in November and December. Last year, I thought that we had a good amount of experience, but we were still a little bit young, but we did have some fortunate wins, especially on the road. Now coming in with so many newcomers, we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and it just takes patience, poise. We had 3 games where we lost by a total of 8 points. Those shots go in, whether it's free throws, whether it's a last second shot, you know, those types of scenarios. And if we defend a little bit better, and if we rebound a little bit better, now you're talking about, you know, the win column having a couple of more victories. But it's a process of development. And I think that, you know, sometimes myself and my staff, I mean, we got to be patient with the process because we are talking to a lot of newcomers that have to understand the philosophy of what our expectations are. And that's why we're using November and December to get us ready for conference play in January. The fortunate part is we beat one of the top teams in the league with Monmouth, but now we turned around and fell short to Quinnipiac. So we have to try to build consistency and continuity with this basketball team, and it's a process of growth.
That process will continue coming up on Thursday night against the Nittany Lions at Penn State. That's also the next time you'll hear from the head coach, Jim Barron, on our pregame show. Network coverage begins at 6:40, tip-off right after 7 o'clock on 102.9 FM and 12:30 AM WECK, and of course right here on GoGriffs.com. Reminder, after the 2 road games, Penn State and then on Saturday against Kent State, next time you see the Golden Griffs right after finals on December the 19th against Boston at the Kessler Athletic Center. Call 716-888-TIXX for Kessler Athletic for the Kessler Athletic Center box office, and to get tickets for any future Golden Griffins home game, or go online at gogriffs.com. For the head coach, Jim Barron, best of luck this week.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, I'm Ben Wagner, and this is the Jim Barron Show, presented by Geico, and we thank all of you for joining us here on gogriffs.com and over the Golden Griffin Broadcast Network.